there?
Hey, you're cutting out a little bit, but on the sound, sorry.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. It's your video is a little choppy, but I think it's better now.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to find a way to get in contact with you. It was for Ben. Because I just got a message from the software saying that they're having a cloud issue. So
okay.
Can you hear me now? You still can hear me?
Yeah, but
they said they had a cloud issue, so it's a little glitchy.
It's still a little glitchy, yeah.
Okay, okay. Well, we're gonna try this, right? What I'm gonna do is I'm going to record this. I'm going to attempt to record this and then broadcast it live right after I get done recording it, so it doesn't have so much strain on going into so many different platforms at the same time.
Yeah.
First time I ever seen this situation.
You're hearing me just fine?
Oh yeah, I got you just fine. I got you good.
All
So give me 1 second. Let me go back out and let me try to get back in. You know what? I'm gonna try it anyway. We're gonna push through it. We're gonna try it. And if it has an issue, it has an issue. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of our ladies, you're now tuned into the Investor Show. It's always This is your gracious host, the Prince of Investing, Prince Dykes, coming to you guys and girls live all the way from the beautiful city and state of Denver, Colorado. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe, comment, and share button. And hopefully this broadcast goes over well. It's not too bad. It's not too glitchy. But if it is, we'll just have to work with it. We'll work around it. We're going to make it happen. But I know that the people that are catching this live, if you are catching this live, go ahead and drop a comment below and tell me where you're checking in from. And if you are catching the playback, you can drop a comment as well. But as you guys and girls can see, the cannabis industry started off very hot this year. When President Biden won, that was the hot topic. Oh, they're going to federally legalize cannabis. Then it just quite didn't seem to happen. Now we're pushing the big infrastructure bill, and we're kind of wondering what happened to cannabis. So here today, none other, we have a publicly traded company CEO. Hopefully, I don't want to butcher his last name. I'm just going to say his first name. And when he gets on, I'm let him say his first name because he told me before the show, but I don't want to butcher his name. But we have Nick here. He's the CEO of Greenlane. He was the CEO of Kush Company, but Kush Company, they just did a major merger. We're going to talk about this major merger. How did they do this major merger? What does this mean? What does this mean going forward? What does this mean for retail investors? What does this mean for institutional investors? And is cannabis really gaining the trust of investors? Because guys and girls, y'all already know, I know it's going to be a big industry. I just don't know when and how to invest in it. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's give a loud round of applause for the CEO of Greenlane. Nick, how is it going, sir?
Hey, it's going wild. I'm happy to be here, and appreciate you having me on. It's Nick Kovacevich, CEO of Greenlane. Yeah, it's a tough name to pronounce, so I give you credit for letting me do it.
Exactly right. Hey, you know, I've been down that path before. So sometimes, you know, I know my weaknesses and I acknowledge them and I say, hey, you know what? This is the workaround. So Nick, where are you at right now?
I'm in my home office, Newport Beach, California, and we have an office here in Cypress, California. And then, as you mentioned, we just merged. So KushCo was based here on the West Coast, Greenlane, based out of Boca. And so we've got another big office there. That's our new HQ for the combined company, which is going to be under the Greenlane name. We're keeping the Greenlane name, Greenlane ticker symbol GNLN, which is listed on Nasdaq. So that was another compelling reason for KushCo to do the merger, and all of the KushCo shareholders have now converted over to Greenlane shareholders. So welcome to the new Greenlane. Luckily, I'm still here to lead the company. And I'm excited about the future. We've got a great platform to build upon. A lot of work to do, but the future has never been brighter or greener than it is now for our combined company.
Okay, because Kush Company was a pink slip stock, right?
Yeah, it was OTC. It was fully reporting, so it wasn't on the pink sheets, but we were on the highest tier of the OTC exchange, and ultimately wanted to get to Nasdaq, and this was a great path to do that and do it with more size and scale, because it's tough to be a small company listed on Nasdaq. So we're still a small cap for sure, but we're much bigger as a combined company. Greenlane was doing historically around 30 million a quarter, and same with KushCo. So it put us together, and we're about double that, and market cap is right around 300 million right now.
Nice, 300 million market cap. Congratulations, congratulations on that. Got to give you a round of applause for that. So now I got to ask you this question. Round of applause for the 300 million. Cha-ching sound effect, but I'm working on it. So I got to ask you this question. Going forward, some people say, hey, we don't know marijuana is not federally legal as of right, and they're saying, well, if a company, if a business entity or business, how did Kush Company and how did it become public?
Yeah, great question. I think you were cutting out a little bit, but I think what you were getting at is how does a company in the cannabis space list on a major exchange like Nasdaq or NYSE? And the answer is simple: you have to be fully federally legal. So if you're touching the plant, you're one of the companies that we service, a company that's growing, processing, or selling cannabis, you can't list on any major exchange if you're doing that in the US. Now, if you're doing that in Canada, you can, and that's how you have companies like Tilray and Canopy and Aurora and Kronos. But they have no operations here in the US that are actually touching the plants. The companies in the US are called multi-state operators. These are companies like Green Thumb, Curaleaf, Cresco, Trulieve. These companies are engaged technically in federally illegal activity. So they can't list on the major exchanges. They have to go up to Canada and list on the Canadian Securities Exchange and cross list down on the OTC. Unfortunately, that is not going to change until there's a policy change at the federal level, which we're hopeful, and I know we're going to talk about later. So where KushCo and Greenlane come is we're on the ancillary side. We don't actually touch the plant, but we sell products to companies that do, and we sell products to consumers that consume the plant. But these are hard goods, rolling papers, water pipes and hand pipes, different accessories for consuming the plant. And then we sell a lot of packaging, vape hardware, and even solvents like ethanol and butane that are used in the extraction process. So we're trying to sell a lot of things that are applicable to this industry. We see ourselves as sort of a picks and shovels provider. So, during the gold rush, there were people that came and panned for gold, and there was other people that sold jeans and sold picks and sold shovels. And we saw over the long haul, those companies did quite well. And so we'd like to fashion ourselves after that in this modern day green rush, and sell the goods that are needed to power this industry. But by not actually touching the plant itself, we're technically federally legal and able to list on the big exchange.
Okay. Now, the gold rush had this ecosystem where Levi's were created. Hey, they didn't get involved with gold. They got all the jeans for people to go and things like that. I want to get to ask this question. I don't want to lose Nick here. Nick, you hear that?
Yeah, you're back here. A little staticky, but
okay, yeah, that was a little. No, we have a couple of catch. We are having a couple of difficulties before the show. We're trying to push through it, and if we have to redo it, we have a problem with doing it, right? Okay. Now, what's the advantage of Greenlane to everyone else?
Yeah, so we're very unique in what we do at Greenlane. We do a lot of different things. We compete with companies that do some of those things, but nobody that does all of the things that we do. And we're also the largest, so we can use our size and scale as a competitive advantage. But what we've been focused on over the last several years, both companies in different respects, has been locking in customers contractually, locking in vendors contractually, so you have some protections there, and ultimately building a portfolio of intellectual property that's protected. So what we've done at KushCo is we've targeted the largest MSOs and Canadian LPs, the publicly traded companies that are growing at really fast clips. That makes up our customer base. We have contracts with a lot of these customers. We're very sticky. We're providing them with a wide array of products that really supports their supply chain. It's a critical supply chain that can't go down. And so we're the trusted partner that they rely on. And that relationship makes it so we're very entrenched, and we're able to recognize reoccurring revenue from these clients. Separately, been building out a suite of child-resistant packaging intellectual property. So developing our own closures, developing our own different types of jars and vials that these folks can use to aesthetically brand and showcase their product, but also meet and exceed the regulatory requirements for every single state in which they operate, because it's different in each state. And so how do you figure out how to have a compliant portfolio for all of your stuff that's going to market, whether it's your flower products, your pre-rolls, your concentrates, your vape pens? We're the partner that can provide that to you turnkey, and we're doing it for some of the biggest players in the game. Greenlane historically has had exclusivity, and now is actually in a position where they own several of their own brands. And now we're together as one company. So together we have essentially a house of brands and strong third-party relationships. So when consumers want to consume cannabis, they're coming to Greenlane, and we're able to offer them stuff that no one else can offer them because it's either our own brand, like Vibes Rolling Papers, for example, is very popular. We own that brand in co-ownership with Burner, the hip hop artist, and that's doing really well. There's extremely high consumer demand for those products. We also have ICE, EYCE, which is an acquisition that we made not too long ago, which is a leader in silicone accessories, so hand pipes and water pipes that don't break, right? People want that functionality and durability. So that brand is really strong. So we've got a portfolio, several brands, probably about 6 or 7 today, and we've got a pipeline to build more and ultimately acquire more as well. So we want to be the premier house of brands that nobody else can replicate, because we own the brands, we own the intellectual property behind the brands, whether it's the consumption mechanism or the vaping technology behind it. And then we build out this portfolio that's really unrivaled in the marketplace. And if somebody wants a one-stop shop, they come to us. Now, if you want to manage 10 or 20, 30 vendors and do all those negotiations yourself and hope all your products come in on time and in full, go for it. But if you want to make your life easy, get the top products available from one source, from a publicly traded company that you know can support you as you grow. That's why customers are attracted to our value proposition, and it's in the numbers, right? Both companies are growing year over year. We're now combining, and we expect to amplify that growth organically and via acquisition in the coming months and years ahead.
I'm glad you just ended that on that note with saying acquisition and how you plan on growing. My question for you, this is my philosophy: are you going to be a big fish, or are you going to be a grab root? And the big fish is, are you going to be the one that, for example, I'm in Denver, so we got dispensaries all over the place. Are you going to come in and eat up all the little dispensaries? Or are you going to say, hey, we're going to be that grassroots brand? What are you going to be the big fish? Is Nick going to be the big fish and come through Aurora, Colorado, and just buy up all the little guys? Or is it you going to stand back and go from the grassroots?
Yeah, look, we're certainly positioned to continue to be the big fish. From a size perspective, like I mentioned, there's nobody that's really as large as us that's doing what we do. Holistically, we're not touching the plants, so don't worry. We're not gonna come buy up the local dispensaries, but we want to supply those dispensaries with the accessories that consumers want. So the next time you want to pick up a new hand pipe or state of the art heating vaporizer product that you can consume cannabis with, hopefully it's available in a Colorado retail store near you. That's going to be a goal of the combined company to be able to leverage that channel. Traditionally, we sold more into smoke shops and head shops. We also have a direct-to-consumer business online at vapor.com where you can buy these products directly delivered to your home. So we're omni-channel. We do want to establish grassroots brands within our portfolio under our umbrella, right? And that's going to be a challenge. Consumers want to go with things they can connect with, and we can't be this big corporation. We're not that big, but we don't want to ever come across as sort of a company that is out of touch with consumers, right? We're in the cannabis trade. Greenlane had 16 years of experience prior to the merger. KushCo had 10 years. I was one of the co-founders of the company. So that's 26 years of cannabis industry roots. And so, of course, we want to be the big fish. We want to be able to acquire companies, but we don't want to lose touch with the consumer. And we want to make sure that we're doing things with a purpose. So we're building brands with a purpose. We have an aggressive ESG slate of initiatives. So we're looking to get out and make a difference in communities, especially communities within our industry. So everything we need to do is that we have on our plan is geared to resonate with our customers, geared to empower our employees. And ultimately, we think the net result of those activities is going to return dividends for our shareholders.
Okay. So, nigga, what is the thing why do you want to stay away from touching the actual plant? Because of the federal regulations, or what do you think about that? Why not touch the plant?
Yeah, it's twofold. Well, threefold, really. I mean, I think our long-term thesis, if we look way out, cannabis is going to become commoditized, right? There's going to be some brand winners that can maintain margin, but for the most part, it's a crop. So our products, we believe, have longer duration when you look at margin threshold. So the ability to continue to sell a hand pipe for $20, regardless of the price of cannabis, whether you're getting an eighth for 50 or you're getting an eighth for 15. Quite frankly, if you're getting an eighth for 15, you're probably going to need more hand pipes, right? That's a lot of cannabis to smoke. If you're spending $100 a month, you have all the supply you need, right? So I think we can withstand that commoditization much better than a company that's touching the plant. I mean, they have to get to massive size and scale to be able to do it. Certainly, companies will, but the smaller ones it's going to be very tough. So we love our positioning there, and we also love our Nasdaq listing. We think this is a unique opportunity for investors to play the space. They want to play cannabis. They know it's a boom sector, right? They know it's going to be ubiquitous in 20 years, but even shorter. But they can't invest in these companies that are listed on the CSE and the OTC that have small liquidity. We're on Nasdaq. We're a way for these companies to invest via proxy into these plant touching businesses that we support. Because if you think that these plant touching companies are ultimately going to continue to grow at 50, 100, 150% a year, that means they're going to need to buy more things from Greenlane. They're going to need to buy more packaging. They're going to need to buy more vape pens. They're going to need to buy more butane and ethanol and more accessory products for their retail stores. So you can get an exposure to the industry through a NASDAQ listed stock that clears your compliance and has the liquidity that can allow you to take a position. We think it's very compelling for institutional investors to take a stake in our company right now. So that's the second reason. And the third reason is ultimately, we don't want to compete with our customers. We know our customers are out there doing the hard work, cultivating, processing, and retailing cannabis. And we want to be their partner, their supply chain partner that's helping them run their business. We don't want to be their competition, right? We don't want to start growing, processing, or retailing cannabis ourselves because competition.
I lost it there for a second. But you said you don't want to compete with.
Yeah, I think you dropped off, but I kept on talking like I do. And but the third point was ultimately we don't want to compete with our customers. We want to be a partner to them. And so if we're selling cannabis, we're in competition with them.
Okay. Yeah, and I got to ask this question here. The very good point of opening up, going from the over the camera to the Nasdaq, the GLN, and now you as an investor myself, he said, we know the industry is going to be big. We know it's going to mean something. We know the industry is going to be big. We know it's going to be something. But with all these out there, all these companies out there, all these companies, small, I don't know anybody that has not profitable. How do you make one? What do I do? How do I get involved with the industry? How do I get exposure to the industry? And so you're saying GNLN is probably.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're a retail investor, especially a lot of retail investors are trading on platforms like Robinhood and other discount or free brokerage apps, you can buy Greenlane shares on those platforms under GNLN. Again, you can't do that with companies that are listed on the CSE or OTC. ETFs can include Greenlane, and they do. We're included in several of the industry ETFs. So if you want to buy a basket of cannabis, you're going to get some exposure through Greenlane and some of the other pick and shovel players. There's companies out there that do hydroponics, companies like Scott's and Grow Generation and Hydrofarm. They're different than us, but they're considered ancillary cannabis. And so that you can build a basket of ancillary cannabis without going into the plant touching, which is again listed on exchanges that are harder to access. And ultimately, there's going to be more visibility, right? As a NASDAQ listed company, there's certain requirements that we have to adhere to. There's more analyst coverage that we can get. So there's going to be more visibility into what we're doing as a company. So as an investor that wants to be sure that they're, seeing the results that they're looking for, I think you got a better visibility into a company like us that's listed on a major exchange than you would on others. And ultimately, investors are smart to get in now, because we know that cannabis is ultimately going to be legalized at the federal level. It's a matter of when, not if. And so
just we'll put it on the cloud. Kind of having. I gotta answer this question. We're going to push through this. I gotta answer this question as well. When you look at the entire legalization, we was going to talk about that. We was going to get the legalization with President Biden, right? When he finally won and it was finally announced in January, everybody said, "Oh, go legalization." Marijuana was the hot topic. Everybody talks about it, and then just kind of faded away into the abyss. Now we have some states that are legalized, but what happened? What do you think about legalization? What's the picture like it may happen with legalization?
Yeah, so it's interesting. One thing noteworthy, if you look at actually about a decade ago, gay marriage, it was first legalized by one state, I think in 2004, and then it was legalized federally in 2014. So it's about a 10-year arc before the federal caught up with what the people really wanted at the state level, and they were voting it in state by state. Same thing is happening with cannabis, right? We know public opinion is extremely high. 70% want full-blown legalization. Over 90% want medical legalization at the federal level. So this is really an opportunity, I think, to legalize here in this next, 2 to 4 years to sort of, find that same arc. We think it's going to happen. Now what we're up against, there was a lot of excitement around legalization when Democrats took control of the Senate, slight majority, Biden in office. Although Biden's never been an advocate for full-blown legalization, certainly understands that the war on drugs has been a failure, right? Especially for cannabis, and targeting communities of color when you look at policing and things like that. So there's a social justice aspect that I think he gets. Ultimately, Chuck Schumer was the one who took the lead with Cory Booker and Ron Wyden, and they put out a bill recently that was the whole enchilada. And we haven't heard much since, and that's because, unfortunately, a bill like that's not going to pass with a slim majority in the Senate, and everybody knows it. So what we really need is incremental progress. The votes are there for progress, right? No, everyone understands this is an untenable situation. You have so many states that are legalizing, yet cannabis is still Schedule 1, federally illegal. That's the highest tier. That's higher than heroin. That's higher than cocaine. Those are Schedule 2. And cannabis needs to be rescheduled. But again, people are now disagreeing on how to do it. Some advocates like Schumer and Booker are saying, hey, we need to do everything all at once, because if not, people are going to sleep on it after we make incremental progress. A lot of other folks are saying, no, let's get a win while we can. We know something like Safe Banking Act will pass. That allows the industry to put cash into banks. That gets it off of the street, which is very dangerous right now. And it could also have provisions to allow companies to uplist on the Nasdaq so that investors can fund these companies, and these companies can continue to do the great work that they're doing in building out infrastructure state by state for consumer access. We'd like to see an incremental win. The industry has been calling for it. And right now, you even have politicians that are for legalization that are unwilling to bend and create a bill that's truly bipartisan in terms of support that can actually pass here in the near term. We're hopeful that it will happen. Experts are thinking around Q1 of next year, we'll get something like the Safe Banking Act or a modified version of a legalization bill. And again, we just need progress, and that will then lead to additional progress and ultimately get us to where we need to go, which is there's no way that cannabis should be any less legal than products like alcohol or tobacco or caffeine, quite frankly. And it's going to get there, but it's just a matter of when, not if.
Okay. So are you believing in that Q1? Q1 2020.
Yeah, I am. I think that I think we'll see something like the Safe Banking Act. It won't be the end all be all, but it'll be a big step in the right direction, and it could really unlock some additional investment into the sector, which will drive the stocks up. I think it's been a tough sector for investors, even though companies are doing phenomenally well. These companies are growing faster than virtually any other sector. They're actually pumping out cash. These companies that touch the plant, the MSOs, doing really well, but their stocks have suffered. So the average investor, has been disenchanted with the cannabis industry, and it's understandable. But that's can only stay like this for so long, right? Ultimately, performance will continue to drive returns over the long haul. So most investors that I know in the space are putting the long hat on, right? They're thinking 2, 3, 5 years, and we know if there's some sort of catalyst, like a legalization or a step in the right direction for legalization, State Banking Act I mentioned, something like that could really drive this sector up and to the right in terms of the stock values. And I think that's why most investors are holding, despite being down on positions, because they know it to be true, and they've seen the success of the companies. It's not like more cannabis isn't being consumed today than a year ago or 2 years ago. No, it's up 100% year over year, or 50%. It's up huge, right? And so more sales are up, companies' profits are up, but the stocks are still down. So at some point that will correct. At some point, this will be so lucrative that you'll see more institutional investors jump in, and the retail investors will get the benefits of that. But we just have to wait, and we have to be patient, and we have to continue to execute. Companies like Greenlane, we have a plan. We're going to execute on that plan, and we believe ultimately our stock will reflect the results of our execution, even though it can be up and down based on the sentiment of investors today. We got to ignore that, and you just got to focus. We know what the goal is. We know how big this market is going to be, and we're going to go execute and capitalize. And we know that long term, the results are going to turn in our favor.
Greenlane, how much is Greenlane trading for today?
Greenlane is at, I believe, about 275 today. And our merger was just completed last week. We've got new analysts or analysts coming out with new notes, in support of the company. So, I think awareness around Greenlane is going to change in a major way here over the coming weeks and months as people realize what we've done with this merger, the type of company we've created, this ancillary powerhouse. Our volume is already up. You see our daily trading volume, which is a great sign. And, we think that, like I said, the future's very, very bright for this company. We do need to execute. We do need to show some results, and we intend to do that. We've got a great plan we've been working on for 6 months as part of this merger process. And we're excited that we're hitting the ground running. In fact, we've got our big initial town hall kickoff tomorrow. And the team is really excited. It's a huge opportunity for everybody in the company, employees, customers, and certainly shareholders to ride with us over this next couple years while we execute and build the company that we know we can build.
Okay, speaking of that plan and building your company, I got to ask you this question: profitability. When do you think profitability will hit the Greenlane's lane? Have a little play on words there.
Yeah,
profitability will come around, because profitability is very hard to find. It's very, very hard to find in this sector right now. The sector better than I do, but it's pretty hard.
For Nasdaq and NYSE listed companies, yes, because most of them are Canadian, and that's a tough market. The U.S. operators, the leading operators, are seeing significant profits. We're on the ancillary side. We can certainly get this business profitable. KushCo, we had a focus on profitability. We got to positive adjusted EBITDA for the first time in 3 years, back in Q4 of last year for KushCo, and then again in Q1. And then we had the merger talks going and some legal expenses, so we faltered. But we're right there. Greenlane has been making improvements. Part of the reason we're bringing the two companies together under one new Greenlane is because of the opportunity to pull out $15 to $20 million of cost synergies. And that's huge for a business our size. Just think about it. Our combined market cap right now is only 300 million. And we're talking about pulling out $15 to $20 million of cost synergies. If you put a 10x EBITDA multiple on that, you're talking about creating 150 to $200 million of extra value with this merger. So that's really a big part, pulling out the cost synergies and getting this business profitable. We have a great plan to do it. We expect to be profitable within next calendar year. Back half of the year is what we're guiding folks to. And it's a result of increasing our sales, possibly doing a few acquisitions, but managing our costs, right? That's going to be key. Pulling out these cost synergies, managing our costs. We did a great job of that at KushCo over the last 2 years, and increasing our margins. We know selling our own brands and our own intellectual property can yield us more margin dollars, and that's where our big focus is going to be over the near term. We've got to do some integration stuff. There's some costs involved in the merger we just did. All of that's going to get cleared out, for the most part over the next 4 to 6 months. And 2022 is going to be a banner year for Greenlane. We're super excited about our plan, and we really have confidence in our ability to execute and deliver. And ultimately, we think the results will show up in the marketplace.
Okay. Well, you recently tweeted out that nobody should be getting drug cannabis. A lot of us think that way because it's acceptable. What are your thoughts behind it? Why do you say, hey, we can get rid of people losing their jobs?
Yeah, you were cutting out a little bit, but I think the question was in relation to the drug testing for cannabis. And my tweet on Labor Day was, it would be a great day to end nationally drug testing for marijuana for work. It makes no sense. 70% of the population has access to, or 60% of the population has access to legal cannabis now in their own state or in a neighboring state. And, this is a product that stays in your system for, upwards of 30, 45 days. Imagine if alcohol stayed in your system for 30 to 45 days and jobs screens you for alcohol. And if you had any alcohol in your system, you didn't get the job. I mean, that's crazy to think about. No one would ever think that would be possible. But that's what's going on right now for cannabis. And keep in mind, this is a substance that's far less dangerous than alcohol. I mean, just look at any chart that's out there. When you talk about alcohol versus cannabis, people get violent with alcohol. People drive drunk with alcohol and injure other folks. I mean, this is something that society has generally accepted as being fine. Yet cannabis, which is safer, has these draconian restrictions, including drug testing, where people lose their jobs, they get fired from their jobs, or they don't get the job in the first place. And it's completely outdated. It needs to be updated. And this is something, again, when we talk about social justice, who's this really affecting? It's affecting people in the lower economic totem pole, right? Because when you're a white collar executive, you're not getting screened for this stuff. And kudos to companies that have already come out and abolished marijuana drug testing. Amazon being the biggest name, obviously, and I think it's up to the people to demand this. This is a very tough labor market. The employees really have the power here, and they're demanding things like working from home, and companies are complying, right? This is something that people need to stand up and say, I'm not going to work for a company that continues to test for cannabis. And companies will change their policy very quickly. They'll get with the times. But if we let them get away with this and we let them continue to do this, they'll keep this in play, and it's ultimately something that is, in my opinion, it's a racist policy, and it's something that is affecting people in the lower economic bracket. And right now with COVID and everything that's happened with our economy, that is not the thing that you want to be doing. You want to be helping those types of folks get their jobs, get back to earning income, and get our economy back on track. So, we're excited in our industry to be breaking down that barrier. We need other industries to join, and we're seeing some. And I think, within a year or two, you won't see many companies testing for marijuana unless they're specifically tied to the government or an airplane pilot or things like that. But for the most part, I think 80 to 90% of jobs won't be screening for marijuana, is my opinion. But we'll see next year. I'll send out another tweet on Labor Day.
Yeah, we'll see, definitely. Now, the thing about it is, look at my and say, this year it's going to be great, but you just don't want to be on the wrong horse in the race. It's like, well, who is it going to be? When we shake out all this, I know some companies won't survive, some companies won't make it. I want to make sure I get on that right horse. I like your confidence, and I like your plan, and I like your youthness, right? Most publicly traded company CEOs that I've had the opportunity to speak with, you're different. You're very different, Nick. I will say that. And looking forward to your company, looking forward to, like, hey, you know what? We're going to go from being from the OTC market, merge with Greenlane, and then get on Greenlane so we can get put onto the Nasdaq. Then now that we're on the Nasdaq, now that everybody can have an opportunity to invest into us, because now institutional investors, people with Robinhood apps, people with interactive brokers, E-Trade, TD Ameritrade, they all can become investors into it. So I definitely like that. I definitely like. Let me ask you this question: has Greenlane been added to any ETFs or mutual funds?
Yeah, we're in a few of the cannabis ETFs I mentioned earlier, and we're looking to get into more indexes and things like that. So part of our IR strategy, we're going to hit the ground hard. I'm actually headed to New York this week to meet with investors, analysts. We expect to be able to get more analyst coverage with the combined platform. And ultimately, we just got to get more awareness. So that's why I appreciate the opportunity to come on here, tell the story, and get the word out to all the listeners. Most people don't know about Greenlane, and the opportunity to own a company that's on Nasdaq that is directly tied to the cannabis industry through our customer base. And you mentioned winners and losers, right? That's what everyone's wondering is how do you pick the winners and losers? And that's part of the thesis, right? Is that we're supplying ancillary products to everybody. So ultimately, we want all of our customers to succeed, but the ones that go out of business, they'll be replaced with the ones that are staying in business, and we'll sell more products to the winners than that it ultimately evens out, right? Just like we mentioned the gold rush, right? I mean, ultimately, if you're selling a pan, you want the guy to find the gold, but if he doesn't, you still sold the pan, right? So we're trying to hedge a little bit against that, and I think investors, can take a little bit of comfort in the fact that we're pretty well diversified when it comes to our revenue streams and our customer bases. Of course, we've got some execution we've got to do on our side to prove that we've got staying power and we're going to the moon, right? But we check off a lot of the risks through that diversification that maybe would scare investors away from investing in one single cannabis brand or one single cannabis company that doesn't have that type of diversification that we do.
Okay, I like what you said, Nick. You said I don't care who's number one. I'm going to sell a product to them anyway. So, because you're going to be in the ecosystem of the marijuana, like, hey, who's number one or number two or whatever, whoever's in that space, I'm going to be selling the product. Like a restaurant. Hey, this restaurant is here, but guess what? The restaurant is going to need forks, cups, knives, napkins, all these things like that. Yep. Okay. Well, I will say this: I will be a shareholder in Greenlane, right? Probably sometime tomorrow. I'll see what I like you as CEO. I like the way you speak and the energy and the way you look at things.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and luckily you're getting in at a good time. I think you're going to do well with your investment here. And the one thing I can promise you, I can't promise you where the stock's going to go, but I can promise you we're going to work really hard. We've got a dedicated team. We care about our business. We care about our customers. And ultimately, we care about our investors and getting their return over the long haul. So we're going to work hard.
Kind of lost it for a second. You know, this has been a struggle stream, but sure, a lot of clunky stuff on this particular stream. But Nick, you can hear me. Definitely thank you. Is there the customers or people that's catch the back to this? Back.
All right, sorry, you cut out a little bit. I couldn't hear you at the end.
But in a second, once here to bring him back, I can see it. Trying to keep it.
I think you said you want to have me back on. I hope.
Yes,
I'm happy to come back. Any last words? No, I got.
Just right when we
Because of technical difficulties today, but we're working through it. So I couldn't hear the last question, but I just want to say thanks for having me on. Thanks for following the story, and look forward to staying in touch.